Hi, my name is Kevin McDonald, and I'm declaring my independence. Independence from what? Why, negative thoughts and energy, of course. Chief among them, hate, division, and fear. You see, I know that we're all one, and together we can solve any problem, save our planet and each other. Please, join me as we come together as one and choose a better way to be. So now, let's begin with my independence report. And we've got a wonderful show for you this afternoon, I think. Regan, you may have to turn yourself down just a little bit.
Okay.
Not a lot, just a little bit so we don't get the feedback from it.
Okay. So, how's that?
I think that's better. That's you did it. You solved the problem. You must be some sort of
I'm just talking a little softer.
Oh, okay.
Because the mic's in my Brio up here, so I don't even know how how I turn that down.
It's not the mic part, it's the receiving part. The headphones.
Oh, okay, because I'm just talking without, I don't have headphones or anything. I'm just using the mic from the camera.
So you can turn down your computer sound. So that's on the...
Okay.
I wish I'd have said that. That was
thanks for saying that. Yeah, I don't want
there again, the intuition of what's coming to me. So,
Natasha Venter, how are you, Miss Mediumship?
I am doing well, and it's just been amazing how things have been kind of turning around. Because we have ups and downs and ins and outs, and sometimes we have a heavier moment in life, and then there's a lighter moment in life. It's called the breath in, breath out. And so I'm having some of that breath out moment where it's like, okay, I can breathe now.
So in other words, you're doing fine. You had a good weekend.
Did.
Awesome. Regan, how about yourself?
Yeah, I had a good weekend. We went to a place here in Marin County that Patty's been here for 35 years, and she's never been there, and it's 5 miles away. And it was called China Camp, and it's on the bay, San Francisco Bay. And it was a little community that about 500 Chinese people lived. And at the time they built it, you had to take a boat over to San Francisco. So it was pretty isolated, But now that, of course, when they did the Golden Gate Bridge, then, that was it. But they did shrimping, and they had a whole industry there where they produced massive amounts of shrimp. And then the ways they collected shrimp was so good that the American people that were shrimping got jealous. So they had some laws passed said that they couldn't shrimp, they couldn't shrimp fish the way they were doing it because they said it was unfair. And they kind of shut them down, but they continued using other forms and still it was okay. But it was neat. Some of the buildings are still there. There's a little museum. And it was really, really neat. And one of the last remaining person there just died a couple years ago. So in other words, for probably the last 10, 15 years, there was only 2 or 3 people out of the 500 that lived there. And it was everything was deteriorating. So they got, one of the last survivors donated it to the county to take over as a park, but it was beautiful. Oh my gosh, what a beautiful sight overlooking this huge, and it gave me an idea of how huge San Francisco Bay is, where it's like 7-8 miles across in some places, Yeah. And just how, in other words, another culture came over here to America and they kind of had to live by themselves because of the prejudice and then a lot more Chinese came over. Of course, they helped build the railroad. If we all know the story about that with the 2 railroads coming together, if it wasn't for the Chinese, we might have never got it built. They were fearless, and so many of them died. Going over the Rocky Mountains, and the Sierra Mountains.
Oh yeah,
it's quite a remarkable thing. And nowadays we're giving them credit for it.
Yeah. Now, by the way, this wasn't Bubba Gump shrimp, was it?
No. Nope, that's on another coast. That was funny. When I watched that, I tell you, when I was in the movie theater and then the character that was going to open the shrimp thing kept saying, this kind of shrimp and that kind of shrimp and whatever. Whatever. I mean, I was laughing hysterically. It was Forrest Gump. That's right.
Yep, and it was Bubba that was telling him all the ways
yeah, Bubba.
cook shrimp, and you can saute it, you can deep fry it, it was really was quite good. So anyway, guys, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about a couple things. Near the end, we're going to talk about intuition, because there's something that I want to play for you two.
Okay.
But in the meantime, you wanted to talk about, there's a new website that you referenced.
Oh yeah. I see it on the internet. It's just called The Afterlife. And people, check in and talk about what their experience, and most of it has to do, or a lot of the things on there, well, how do we know heaven is real? My uncle died, and then all of a sudden I see him in a dream, or something happened, and it says that to me, that's proof that there's really heaven. Lots of things like that, which are experiences people have with people dying, and then what their experiences through their grieving process, and so many times how they feel their loved one from the other side contacted them. And I know we talked about that before, because in the Newton Institute, where, in the work that I do, where we have people go to the afterlife and come back using a protocol that almost anybody's successful. When they're over there, a lot of times they go through a past life, and before they go to the afterlife, where I have them go, they go, no, I'm not ready yet. And they want to hang around, and they want to contact the people that are grieving. And then, we found out after 50,000 people have done this, different ways that people contacted from the other side. So for people here, sometimes that's the only proof they have that, yeah, maybe there is really a heaven, is that they've had some sort of experience where they go, I just know that was Uncle Bob talking to me in my dream, or that was, he's the one making the lights go on and off all over the house for no reason, or, any number of ways that they connect with us. Yeah. So maybe we talk today is like, but on this site, people are getting into arguments and everything, because someone's saying that Jesus isn't real, and then someone's coming back saying he's the devil, and because everybody only has certain pieces to the puzzle. So maybe we can talk to the day, how do we come to our beliefs? And then how come we set them in stone, so that, once we think we have it, we're totally scared if anything new comes up. That's why, like with what Natasha did, sometimes she gets accused of being, and like me, in the work I'm doing, they just say, oh my gosh, you guys are the worst ever. And all we're doing is just saying, we've just saying what's out there and what's real. And why do we as human beings want to fight that so much? It didn't have to be just over religion. It could be on our views on how to raise kids, or what, if we're Republican or Democrat. I mean, some people go to the death being a Republican, even with all this Trump stuff, because they don't like the other side. I mean, I don't know. Because research shows we're all in this together. We're all one, and each of us is choosing to learn different things in our life, and we go through different protocol to learn the things we need to learn. But that doesn't mean that everybody else's protocol is all wrong.
That's right, Natasha. Nobody ever says to you that you're nuts, or they don't believe you, do they?
I have had that several times where I have, and it was a good lesson on discernment for me. That we all have these moments where we get pushed, and there was a time when I had it was a man who, he went early, and his father was grieving so badly, and he came to me, and his stepmom worked with me, and so I wanted to give a message to them, and she just basically said, I don't believe in it, I don't want to hear anything about it, la da 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 da. And it was like, okay, and I walked away, and I couldn't take it personally, because it's not for me. I was sending a loving message. I knew how to do it better next time, because I would just check in and say, hey, I just wanted to check in, and, do you believe in somebody that's maybe a little bit more intuitive than not? And, oh, no, I don't believe in that. Well, that's my key. It's like, I don't want to give that kind of message. And yeah. And so it's one of those things that that we all have these moments. And like Sue was saying, and I love that you can do this now, Kevin, good job for reaching out, that once I've had a direct experience with something metaphysical, it became my truth. And now it's my truth, that I've had. So it's one of those things that when we have these moments, and that's what I do when I sit down with someone. I always say, remember, your truth is your truth, but this is something that might be a different perspective. So can you just put it in your back pocket? Can you just, wear it around for a little bit, see if this fits in a little bit? Sometimes the universe will bring something to you that will show you that this is a good, confirmation, for you to hear. And so you never know what can happen different, but it's amazing. Sometimes I'm just amazed at how, I don't want to call it closed-minded, but shut down is maybe a better word. Shut down somebody is to experiences that the world is trying to do. But I also have an understanding too, that when I witness somebody's contract coming in, and I can kind of get me and doing that, it's just like a snapshot. I can jump there real quick, and I can see some of the things that they wrote down, and some of them needed to be in just the 3D / whatever world, you want to name it. There's going to be different names, but they weren't meant to be anything else besides, in blinders that I'm only supposed to see this. And then at the same time, though, there are times when they were coming in very open and very willing to do and very open to be. And then they had parents or somebody. I don't want to always blame parents, but since they're our kind of go-to right at the beginning of our lives, it's easy to do that. And many of us were shut down because of, oh, you can't believe in that. That's against the rules. That's against God. And so we all kind of get into these, I don't want to call it, but maybe a brainwashing mode of us being younger. And I can even say me being, with my husband being so loving that he is, being the alcoholic he was for 20 years, I can see why some women stay with, or some men stay with an abusive relationship, because they always think it's going to get better. They always think, well, there's a form of brainwashing that I even went through, that I had to work through every day to not be that. And with that there's these knowings that we get. But then if we've had these very strong personalities, it takes us a while to get out of it. Well, if life keeps telling us that we need to be in that box, by choosing then the partner that does the same story, and then choosing the religion or a belief system, I'm going to call it. It could be even, government. That could be our belief system. Whatever that belief system is, that it just keeps repeating those same stories, because we collect people the way we think. We collect, if we're somebody who thinks negative, we're going to collect the negative thinking people. If we're positive thinking people, we'll collect more than positive thinking. So whatever we're raising up in, that happens. And I'm going to say that many of the religions that our family members are in, as simple as it, and I'm going to even name it, sometimes it could be even as simple as the Lutherans, the Catholics, but it depends on what church you go to, and what the story is depends on if each family member gets involved into that belief system, because they haven't known anything else. And when our brains are growing, when we're young, when we're teenagers, what are we really being taught? And if we have friends that are so that way, in the same belief system, then how are we supposed to expand our thoughts? And then as adults, oh my gosh, that's a scary thing to expand our thinking, because then it's not safe. And vulnerability is not known to be a very strong muscle to know, but vulnerability is one of the best tools in our lives, because if we're vulnerable to new things, we can really grow.
Yeah. In the studies, like when I spent 2 years at the Hypnosis Motivational Institute down in Southern California, and all the years of study that through hypnotherapy they found is that between 0 and 8 years old if somebody in authority tells you something and you look up to them as someone in authority, it gets programmed into your mind as absolute. And your mind decides to accept that because you trust that person. So, if the people that are putting that information in you don't have all the information, or they have wrong information that they learned from somebody else, then it goes into you. And, so what I tell people is like, okay, let's say, just to use a Muslim young boy and a Christian young boy. And one goes to the mosque, one goes to the church, and they go to their studies, and that gets put into them. And I could almost guarantee you that you take that Christian boy, put him in that family of the Muslim boy at the same age and switch them, they would both switch, because it's what they're programmed to believe. So as they get older, they'll fight to the death with each other, telling each other that each other's wrong. But it's how the mind's programmed. So once you learn that and become more mindful of what goes in your mind, and you start questioning what you learned and what your beliefs are, then it's a little difficult, but you can kind of find more what the truth is, but you have to kind of fight for it a bit because your subconscious mind doesn't like change, So it's like most of us are imperfect people programmed by imperfect people. So I think this is where the awareness comes in. It's all of a sudden you go, wait a minute, let me think here. Do I really believe all this crap that I'm saying? Hey, that's my dad talking right now out of me. That's my pastor talking out of me. Wait a minute, do I believe that? And so then, nowadays, because of all this information's out there, you can start over again. And I tell people, well, just ask God to guide you and don't be afraid, and start searching out all the different possibilities and find something that really fits you. And maybe you're right where you're supposed to be, but maybe there's a lot of other things out there that can help you evolve spiritually, but don't be afraid. That's the thing, we're pounded into us. If you change one iota of this, you're going to hell. But if anybody else tells you something that I told you, you got to be brave, So, and do the research, and it's out there,
But Regan, how old were you when? Because there had to be a moment in time. Now I don't know your upbringing. Did you grow up in a?
I grew up Catholic.
Oh, okay. So you're a recovering Catholic. I get it.
Yeah. And I love the Catholic religion. When it's man that kind of distorts it a lot of it. But what Jesus taught about love, compassion, kindness, and everything, that's it. You can't get any better than that. And it's just that other religions teach the same thing too. So, they don't conflict. When you get to the heart of most major religions, it's all about being kind and loving and forgiving. It's that somehow man kind of screws it up a little bit. They skew it, or they turn the teachings to what they believe, rather than the other stuff. So, like I say, when I have people on the other side visiting heaven, whether they're Christian, some of them will have a conversation with Jesus, other people have a conversation with these other enlightened beings over there. And it's everybody, the people on the other side, they're just trying to wake us up and to say, hey, you guys, this is all true. It's all about love, So, what Natasha's found out, though, is some people are kind of born where the wall between the other side and here is thinner. They just seem to have that, God's given them that access, so they don't have to step but just a little bit to access the other side. And some of us, like me, when I first started out, I think the wall was about 10 feet thick, and it's just taken experience after experience after experience. And I think, was it Susan that just chimed in about her having an experience? Yeah. So, see, the wall for her is becoming thinner now too, because she's having experience. And so, boom, now she's this close. And then another experience comes, and another, and another. And then pretty soon she's going to be like Natasha and a lot of the other people that way, that her intuition will be sharper, like when we're talking about that, because intuition, I believe, is nothing more than allowing the information from the other side, realizing that it's real, and realizing that you need to follow it, your inner guidance, I guess you'd say.
The interesting thing, guys, is that I was watching a YouTube thing just the other day, and they were debating about whether or not we actually have a soul. This was a religious group, a pastor that was talking about in the Bible, there is no concrete definition of what the soul is or what it does. And so there are people wandering around that are going, how can we go to heaven if we don't really even have a soul? We're waiting for the earth to be reconstituted and for them to come back here, and then they make me whole again, and then I live for 1,000 years. That's some of them actually believe stuff like that.
Yeah.
How do you convince those guys?
Well, it sounds like they're searching. So and talking about it. So something's going to change, because every time they talk about it's going to cause their minds to start, maybe looking for the answers and stuff. I was wondering, like, was it Susan again?
Yeah.
Just chimed in. Oh, can she elaborate on what her experience was?
Let's see how well she can type. If she'd like to.
Today's Monday. It was a wonky day. I started out my day with my oatmeal exploding over my cup, and then there's some people who forgot their tabs going to get in and out of work. It was just one of those days. So it's that moment.
Okay. Do you differ between?
Yes, I do actually differ between a soul and the spirit.
Okay, explain too, because as much as I know, that's always confusing to me.
Okay, so to me, in the language that I know, and in that moment where, and I'm getting this from all my lifetime. So this is my collective, and this is a truth. I want to say that because to me, the only truth, the truth with capital THE that I call is love. So a truth is something that somebody has a perspective. And so with that, this is my perspective on what the difference between a soul and a spirit is. That a spirit is the thing that walks between lifetimes and lifetimes. It's the energy that we are continuously from the spot that we came from, taken off of the greater belief. Some people call it God, somebody calls it, lately I've been calling it greater, because it's just that moment where our spark came off and we became something. We became light. That to me is what the soul is. To me, the spirit is the thing that whispers to us. It's the spirit. It's almost like the heartbeat. To me, it's like the spirit of air or wind. It can be the collective of just everything. It's that chi energy that they talk about with feng shui. It's the breath, it's the movement, it's that whisper that's on the wind. It's the trees talking. And when the wind blows and they can finally have a voice because their leaves are talking to each other. It's when the dog looks at you and you feel their love. It's that spirit. It's an energy. Okay. It's a movement. It's that and yes, your soul has spirit with it, because your soul is energy. It moves. But yet if we don't have something else to create our energy, our soul kind of loses its spunk, its brightness, its vitality. And so that's where sometimes when we have conversations with like-minded people, we get all energized because our soul gets energized by the spirit of that conversation. Or go ahead.
Well, maybe that's, when in the Christian Trinity, when you have the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, the Holy Spirit is kind of what you're talking about. That's kind of like the gasoline that keeps us filled up.
Exactly. It's that okay. Breath. It's the moment. It's the spirit that comes off the rainbow that gives us life. It's the vitality of when we eat food and you pick a vegetable from the garden compared to one at the grocery store. It has more spirit, more vitality, more vitality. It's that energy, it's that moment that we can have. And yes, our soul has spirit. but yet that's different than the higher self. The higher self is almost
What
the brain of the soul.
So what you're saying is that we're separate.
We're all one, but we're separate. It's that kind of that. It's that. It's kind of like the ethers of our phone, our cell phones. You know, it's like one phone call can go to another phone call, but it's out in the ethers of everything. And so that's why when I'm on the phone, that if the military is flying by, they can still hear me because it's still in the spirit of going out there. So it's not necessarily separate, but it has individualness to it, because you can tell the difference between spirit that's a little heavier and a little bit lighter. You can tell the difference when you have the door closed compared to open in spirit, because when a door is closed, the spirit has a hard time getting through the windows. But yet when we have the windows open, we have more vitality coming through our house because the spirit can just move through it.
Yeah. Well, we've had people in the life between life process where some people, instead of going to a past life, they go to source, as we call, and they explain it like they're there and they don't want to leave, of course. And they say it's beautiful. And then we'll say, well, do you sense anybody else there? And then the human self, who their soul self is there, goes, oh my gosh, yes, I'm surrounded. It's like being a piece of fabric, and you can sense all of the other fabrics around you. So you feel like you're an individual, but yet you're it's like in the soup with everybody else. It's hard to explain, kind of, but it's a life-changing experience for some people, just to feel that love, to feel that oneness that they have. And see, now, until I started doing this work, I never really understood the Trinity. Like a lot of ancient religions throughout history have had a Trinity, and I'm not up on all of that, but I remember reading from time to time how the Hindus have the Trinity, and that seems to be a common thing. But I can see how they can say they're all one, because, you figure God is the whole, you're part of the whole, and then you also are individual from that whole. I mean, again, this is, let's say, but it makes more sense. Like growing up, knowing, we'd ask about the Trinity and we just accepted it and go, well, it must be, but I have no clue what that all means. What's this Holy Ghost thing? And
the other thing is that the Trinity, at least in the Lutheran religion that I grew up in, the Trinity is separate from us. The angels are separate from us.
Oh, yeah.
We are not connected physically, mentally, or emotionally with any of those, because we are less than. We are humans and that are walking the earth, and they don't even. If I ask my mother, who's a fundamentalist Christian, she would say, I would say, what about your soul? She would say, well, I don't know. We'll find out when we get there. Natasha, you're laughing. Did somebody tell you something?
I just heard a big, that's hogwash. That's that's bugwash. That's just, it's, and it was, actually, that was Archangel Michael. But that's the thing is that, we are part of the team. And when we navigating that, and when we were doing work with the spirit, that's, I think, the difference between maybe me and someone else, that I am so close with my spirit and my soul, and my team, I'm going to call it my team, which is my spirit, that I'm so close with them that, I can hear instantly what they're saying because they're here. You know what I mean? That I allow them here because I can trust that Archangel Michael is Archangel Michael, because of his energy. My energy and his energy, my spirit, his spirit, are aligned to feel a lot the same. Just like when Michael's with somebody else, his spirit and their spirit aligns, because it's different with them. There's many times where I'm working with Michael and then he'll be working with somebody and he'll feel different to me because he aligns his spirit with them. So there's just all these different things. But that's why when we're seeing certain past loved ones, that they are spirit form because they're energy. They just have collected as the spirit of them.
But are they them or is they us? That's the
Well, I think the thing when you start doing this spiritual work and you get to a certain point and you realize that in a sense we're all saints, you know. In other words, you know, growing up Catholic was the same way. It was like there was all these saints, these monks like St. Francis and all that. And the mentality was, oh, I could never be like that. You know, I mean, these were just special people. But you realize that they just attained a certain level of awareness, and that's what they want us to do. And once we do that, in a sense, we have the same consciousness as a lot of the monks, the saints, the people that were able to pierce to the other side, to feel that closeness with God, to have their own special thing. So once you go, oh my God, I could do that too, it changes the whole game. Then everybody, we don't have to feel that we're less than, you know.
Well, and two, you know, people put situations on pedestals. And I'm going to tell you that nobody knew what those minds were thinking when they were in a room by themselves. You know, what they were thinking when they were, you know, sitting in the bathroom, because a lot of us do our thinking when we're in the bathroom. You know, it's like, what were they thinking when they were challenged? You know, their snapshot of their all over life, you know, especially when they became saints, that their snapshot of their whole life was that they were, I'm going to call it godly. Well, maybe they were godly 99% of their time, but what are they not 100%? Maybe not. And I can tell you that the last person that angels want to be is on a pedestal.
Yeah.
You know, I know that for me, every time I see Michael, I see him, he's like, remember that movie, Michael, that John Travolta did?
Yes, I do.
That was a total Michael. He channeled Michael 99% of that movie because
that was good.
That was Michael. Was he perfect? He liked his beer. You know, it was like, it's just, you know, it's one of those things that, but the difference, like Michael says, that he cannot be on this planet longer than such time because his energy field, his spirit field, his energy field is beyond what the human body can handle. And that's why some people combust. You know, that's why some people, like for me, I'm finding that the food I'm eating is a challenge now because it's not at the vitality that my body is starting to run at.
Yeah.
And so with that we are working with rising our bodies up a little bit more because our body vibration is not going to be handling these animals that are beaten up before they die, you know, because their spirit was beaten out of them probably before they passed, instead of cuddled and nurtured until that moment and said that they were loved. You know, that there's these moments where we got to just work through it. And it's interesting, the difference between, because I would say that the spirit, like you said, Kevin, before, that when I said about the spirit of like a loved one that's out of the corner of our eye, they are not necessarily not us. But in the moment that they took that energy that was spreading around on the air, the wind, and they just took a little bit more to become more physical. So they just borrowed more energy to be able to be a form. But that doesn't make it that energy doesn't leave them later and then swirl around and become a part of us, so that we know, oh, that smell I just smelled, that was my Aunt Ruth. You know, and that smell of energy, that spirit of her whiffed around so that we can smell her to go forward. So yes, it's a part of us, but it was also, they borrowed that little bit more to make it a part of them.
And so who are they?
Who are they?
Yeah, I'm not sure I followed you, because what you're saying is that they're pulling energy out from the ether to become real.
So like, let's say if Aunt Martha
Right.
wanted to come and say hi to me, okay?
She can anytime she wants to, can't she?
She can, but sometimes these energies, past loved ones, they want to be a little bit more solid, so that we can see them out of the corner of our eye. Or, they have these, like on these shows where they see these wisps of smoke going by. Well, these energies, whoever they are, Aunt Martha, it's like she borrows a little bit more of that spirit that's out all, going. It's the air we breathe. So they just take a little bit more of that and borrow it, make them a little bit more solid, so that Aunt Martha can say, see, I'm here, or hey, Aunt Martha touched my arm or my shoulder, or she made that smell for me. It's like, and so they just borrow a little bit more to be able to make it more physical.
Okay.
And then it's kind of like the energy that we borrow when we're going to do Reiki or that kind of stuff. It's that conduit of healing energy that we just borrow that spirit of that healing energy to make it more physical, more focused, to be what it is to be.
But that is the energy that is coming straight through you from the other side, right?
Yes, just like Aunt Martha, if she chooses, she can walk through me, because we're part of that whole scenario. It's not necessarily us, but it's not but we are it. It's that energy field that comes. It's kind of like the energy that comes to our light bulb. When we turn on the lamp, that energy is always there, but we choose to turn it on with the light bulb. But when we turn off the light bulb, it goes back out into the ethers. It goes back out into the energy field. And so it's just, when do we need to borrow it to use it? And then it goes back into the system again.
Regan, what do you think?
Well, I just noticed on my screen here, it came up where Susan said that she had a spontaneous experience having an angel envelop her and heal her of all shame during a hypnosis session. And she said how huge that was. And thanks, Susan, for saying that, because, people watching this, there's us three up here, but it's nice to have people that are chiming in and talking about their experience too, because we're all in this together. We're all equal here. And now Susan is, she said she's had many, many experiences like this. So that's really helped her. So, and I know some people, they say, well, I've never had anything like that happen to me. And I say, all you have to do is kind of open your heart a little bit and say, God, if you're out there, I want you to show me. So many people have done that, and then little miracles start happening. That's the one thing of waking up is you first want to say, God, show me. I mean, there's probably thousands of books written about people that have had experiences like that, whether it be Christian or Muslim or whatever. When they've got their heart in the right place, then miracles start happening. Things start showing up in their life. And it becomes real. Yeah, and this thing about hypnosis, I don't know what the fear in that is. Hypnosis is we'll have maybe do a whole show sometime on just hypnosis. That it's some people are afraid of it, but it's the most natural phenomenon in the world. People are in and out of it all day long, and all the hypnotist does is he helps you focus so that you can be in that kind of miraculous state and stay there by having a facilitator there to kind of keep you in this hypnotic state in a way. And then there's all kinds of things that can happen, and it's good stuff. Once it happens to you, like once you have an angel like Susan had that enveloped her, some people would say, oh, Susan, you imagined that. Oh, come on, it's just your imagination. But when it happens to you, right, Natasha, when it happens to you, there's something that rings in you that says, this is not my imagination. It's different than imagination, and that it happened, and that it was real. And then, if she was healed from shame, and then her life changes, and all of a sudden she's not as shameful of a person, or she doesn't accept that shame, or she knows what to do, then that experience was real because it changed you in some way, made you a better person in some way, So,
and people don't really realize either that they have not been taught. They don't know better to do better. That many times the universe will send them a bird or a cat or something, an animal, to them as a representation of helpfulness. And as we work through things, and do things that spirit and energy and the universe helping us, it's not always what we think it should be. And that's the closed-mindedness of our minds, is that we think it should be, and that we should be this. What the answer should be is, I should hear the voice of God saying, you're doing a good job. Well, no, sometimes it's the gentleness of a deer that's walking in front of them.
Yeah.
That's saying that be patient with yourself. Give yourself grace. Deer, especially female deer, means to be gentle with self, that there's a wisdom that's coming, that just follow your instincts and trust that as you walk, you can walk with gentleness with yourself.
Yeah.
And so with that you just never know what the answer will be. Sometimes it's you walk out the door and you'll have a rainbow on a hard day, and it's like, that's where the universe is helping you. But unless you know that language, how are you supposed to know that that's maybe the angel saying you're okay?
Yeah.
I too have had wings wrapped around me several times. Matter of fact, there's one night that I was having a fight with my significant other, who just was having a moment, and I was crying, and I asked Mother to come, and Mother Mary, she started rubbing my hand or my face like this, and I was asleep within 2 minutes.
Wow.
And I was so distraught that I knew that it would have been a 5-hour night. You know what I mean? It was one of those nights, and it was just, she just started just boom, and it was one of the best sleeps I had. But it was just that moment of knowing that my mom was gone already. I needed a mom, and who's better mom than Mother Mary? So.
Well, and Susan just chimed back in and said she's never felt shame since. Not at all, she says. So, wow. See, that's really neat. So, and this, like, I had one life between life session this week with a client. He came to me. One of the questions he had was, it was another one. Like, I've had several people come in and say, why am I even alive? He was struck by lightning when he was young with 4 other people and didn't die. And then 2 years ago, he's driving on the freeway near San Francisco, and a freeway shooter shot through the car. It went through the body of his dog and then into his neck, and came out his neck. And so his dog that he loved dearly died. And then he's wondering, his dog saved his life. They took the bullet for him. And he's going, and he's always felt, he always felt like he was a mistake, like when he was born, it was just a mistake, and that he didn't belong. He had a very successful session over there, and going before the council, which most people do over there, he found out that, he wasn't a mistake, and he found out why he's been having these difficult things. And he asked, why was I shot? And they said, you put your place at the wrong place at the wrong time because of your decisions that you're making in your life. Mm-hmm. And just saying that if he had made better decisions in his life, he wouldn't have been in that spot where that negative thing had to happen to him. So that was kind of like, wow, and he says, boy, that sure rings true, because he says, I've really made a lot of bad choices. So they were just starting to say, in a way, just make some better choices in your life,
Well, I think bad things happen to us because either we don't have the belief system, like he believed that he shouldn't be here. So he's constantly kind of sabotaging himself to do that. It's kind of like somebody who buys a new vehicle and says, I'm not worthy of this, and they keep getting in accidents. Yeah. It's that whole part of that scenario that, we have to find out we're worthy. But many of us don't realize that. It's like many times we don't know why we're here, but it's because we're planting seeds. We're planting ideas. We're here to support somebody else that we don't even know what's going to happen in that ripple effect of what's going on. And that's the thing is that we never know why, or many times we don't know why until we look back. And maybe if we got a snapshot of somebody we had an interaction with, a conversation with, and the universe was able to give us a snapshot of that, it was like, oh, I did make a difference, didn't I? Oh, that's why I'm here. But we don't get those crystal ball moments, you know? So we just gotta, it's that part of just going forward and saying, you know what? I'm just gonna be my better me. And if I can make a good ripple effect in the pond of life, that's all the better I can be right now.
Yeah, they told him also that there was a lot of difficulty coming in his life with other people that were having problems, and they were telling him that he has the solutions to help those other people, but he doesn't believe he can help those other people. So it gave him some confidence that, wow, okay, there's going to be some people coming in his life that are going through some difficulties, and instead of not speaking up, if he could just speak up, he has the ability to try to help them, to be a in a sense, a coworker with God, in a way of helping them with their issues. So he went, really? Wow. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens to him coming up here, because it was a great session. I mean, I just loved it, and giving it. And so even if he only takes away from there that he wasn't an accident, that he sees there is a heaven, he's down here for a reason, that's a life changer right there. Mm-hmm. That means that road that he was going to go down is going to shift a little bit now. Can't help it, but be, better in some way. Just like with Susan, when those things happened to her, she was going like this, boom, all of a sudden she's going like this and like this and like this, to a better place, to where her life's more fulfilling,
Don't do that. I've been having kids freeze on me all day.
That's that radio silence, right? They say you shouldn't have a second or two silence. In
radio. No, that's silence is death. You're not allowed to have that. I just thought I'd see which one you would jump in.
Yeah,
and that's the thing is that we're in this moment where half the time we bring things to us because of the way we think. And I can tell you that my whole life, if I really look back and watch my life, I had people coming to me when they had troubles, and then it's like I always had this moment of just the right words at the right time. And they said, thank you, I needed to hear that. And then after my mom passed away, flipping over my box that I was in, putting all my troubles into, that I ended up finding out that this is my road. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And now look at what I'm doing and supporting people and having sessions and doing these things that I'm grateful that I can be this person now more legally because I'm worthy of it and I'm in alignment with it. So now it's on the road of doing it.
I would like the two of you to, in your sessions, incorporate one thing that I have not really heard anybody talk about, and that is having somebody tell you their life story, the moments of change, the decisions that they made as far as they went this way instead of that way. And so therefore what happened long term was a result of that decision that they made, because we each have got moments in time when we've been given, and this is Dr. Michael Newton's book, we're given moments in time, or what do they call it, Regan? Markers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Markers in your life of when you make a decision, and based upon that decision, the next decisions come and the next decisions come. It would be really interesting to see how the decisions that we make in life, how it changes where we're ultimately going to go and how we perceive where we are. You know what I mean? Versus, does that make any sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, our life's kind of like a tree with a big trunk, and then all of a sudden there's limbs, and then there's branches off those limbs. And you can, if you look back, like I probably wouldn't even be here unless I had made the decision one time to go to clown school.
See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Or Natasha, as painful as it was when you lost your mom and dad and uncle, and it changed the entire trajectory.
Exactly, that word right there. Because it wasn't a straight line, nor was it easy, but I can say that everything was very valuable and very useful for who I am today. And so I'm grateful for the whole package. Yeah, that there are moments, and I can tell you the moments that, it depends on our choices. Just like for me, the moment that I got in my car to go to the dentist and passed my husband as he was pulled over by two cops.
That's what we call embarrassing 101.
It is embarrassing 101, but at that moment, he had a choice. He was at a crossroads. I was at a crossroads. And it's funny because we crossed on the road, and I can tell you that there's those moments where we can make decisions, or we can not do those decisions. And it really makes a big difference. And we know there's a part of us that knows, and unless you're drunk, and even me being a witness of many people on drugs or drunk, that they still get a hit when something is ready to come, or there's a decision to be made, and they don't necessarily make the right decision or the clean decision. But you can tell when they go that there is a decision that's going to be made that either can turn their life or not turn their life.
Yeah. Well, we'll just think of this. Okay. So if you have a horrible thing that happens to you in your life, you're at a crossroads when you have to decide how you're going to look at it. One is that like it's a punishment to you and it's horrible and it's awful and whatever, or the other one is this is something that was meant to be so that I could learn something from it. If you choose that and you go down this road instead of the ugly road of like into hatred and denial and like, oh, I hate this, it's happened to me and whatever, and you look at your tree, you're going to have a bunch of ugly, moldy leaves on one side, where if you chose, wow, this has been difficult for me, what can I learn from this difficult thing that I'm going through? Your tree becomes totally different. You start having beautiful leaves and things. I don't know if that's a good analogy, but yeah, every decision we make. And then Susan chimed in again now, says that what, you reading that too, Kevin?
Yeah, it was shown to me,
I guess.
In a healing session, that making one particular difficult choice changed the trajectory of my life. And that's what I'm talking about. There are people who poo-poo that and do not recognize that is in fact the case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if you look back at your life and you look at where your passion is and where you want to go, and then you look at the decisions you've made to achieve that passion, a lot of times you're not following your own heart.
Yeah.
You're going in a different direction.
Yeah. And everybody watching this now or in the future that downloads this thing, start thinking about your life and think about some choices you have coming up right now in your life. Everybody's got daily choices. That's what's current right now. And think about, okay, if I make this choice, is that going to kind of lead me more to darkness? Or is it going to lead me more to light? And sometimes that'll kind of help a little bit, because everybody kind of intuitively knows if they take the road to spite and despair and hatred, wanted to get vengeance or whatever, they kind of know it's going to not lead to a pretty place, and they kind of know if they choose to be loving and kind and forgiving, we all know that you're going to be in a better place. So if you make the wrong choice, then at least have the mindfulness to look back, and when your life's even more of a mess, realize it's because that choice that you made.
But I want to make something clear though, that those that choose, it is a feeling of better or worse. But I'm going to say though that those that have the tendency to go to alcohol or drugs, that you're going to get a lot of that same feeling from the drug. But what is your life continuously doing to you because of that scenario? That you go to something outside of you to feel that same feeling of when it's more right. And that's one thing that my team wanted me to clarify, because the feelings of something feeling right or wrong are in you as an individual. That's not in saying like taking a drug that makes you feel like you're doing the right thing. And we got to kind of have that moment where it's like the ownership the ownership of our decisions will make an impact. And when we can do that, that's what's helpful to getting that knowing of what is feeling more rightish or more wrongish. Because there's not a clean right and a clean wrong. I mean, there's times when I've made an oops, but it wasn't necessarily all wrong, but it taught me something, so it was kind of right in a way.
Yeah.
It's one of those things but that was my perspective. That's why I use the mantra, and I go to this continuously. What is this here to teach me? Because no matter what is there, it's always there for a betterment. And so no matter what is happening, it's always there for a betterment. And when we can do that, when we can choose that and navigate with that, then we know, oh, wait a minute. And I'm going to even say, me, like last night, one of the few treats I can eat is ho-hos. I know they're not good for me. I know that they're not, but it's because of my nut allergy and corn. It's one of the few things that I can, if I don't eat anything with corn, I can eat that. But when I hold it, do I get a good feeling from it? Not really. But then at the same time, there's a part of me that really, it's a human part of me that's really craving something. And so, like I say, okay, I'll have one because there's a package of 3. I'll have one now, so it's like, is that wrong? It's not right because my body's not necessarily enjoying it, but yet at the same time, but there's a part of me that's feeling a little bit, okay. You know what I mean? It's that moment of my old self that's saying, yeah, I used to eat a whole bag of peanut M&Ms, but I can't do that anymore, so.
However, I would like you to consider the fact that there is no such thing as right and wrong.
No, there really isn't. It's feeling better and feeling less than better.
Yeah.
It's the choice that you make, and what that choice is going to be. Now, I wanted to include this one because this is an important topic, but I wanted you two to be prepared before I put it on the screen. I chose to have an abortion and discovered the soul sends me love.
Wow.
That's a deep thought. And I think it, Michael, or it bears out of what Michael Newton said about our souls and what our souls do. And sometimes they're there not to come here at all. They're there to support the people that and the changes that we're making while we're here. So a stillborn or a baby that dies very young or SIDS, or that may be their entire contract.
Yeah. That we found that out, right? And I know, Kevin, you read the books and a lot of the research, and then when they talk to the souls on the other side, and they go, "Well, I chose to just come down briefly, just to be born and to be stillborn because of it could be a number of reasons why,
Exactly.
But Susan having that discovery, wow, that's a huge thing for her, just feeling that love. Again, in this process that I do through the Newton Institute, we take people back where they get younger and younger. Just a warm up for them going to the other side. We have them remember things in this life, and then we have them become younger and smaller and younger and smaller. And I'll go 1, 2, 3. Now this is just before you were born in your mother's womb. And I'm surprised when the people that have that womb experience and they realize how conscious they were in the womb just before that they popped out, and like they're at the starting gate ready to go in this life. And they know a lot of times they can tell me why they chose their mom, what their mission is, what they hope to accomplish. Some of them are a little scared because they know that they got some lessons to learn. It's going to be difficult, but they know that they decided they want to do it. So it's really interesting. So, that soul that was, either from outside or embedded in the womb or whatever, however she communicated was beautiful, and she was realizing that of this connection, between that soul and hers. So
now, Natasha, you've never had anything like that happen to you, now have you?
Well, actually, I had to make the same choice one time in my life, and I communicated with the spirit when that happened, and that spirit moved on to another person, and I'm grateful for that. That I was one of the choices that male chose to have, and I'm grateful that he gave me the opportunity to realize, to give me, and I know why he came to me, because he gave me a moment to say, because I've had many miscarriages before that he came to me to say that at this moment in time is the time you need to start thinking of your future.
Very good. Now, I was actually talking about when you were in the womb yourself.
Oh, yes. That too.
Yeah.
Easy. That's, oh yeah, we'll just bypass that. That's
no, but as I was working through being with my mom, that I had memories of being in the soul of my mom, that I remember that she had struggles, even in a way, I don't want to say conceiving me, but carrying me. And then, because, well, actually 3 months after she had me, she had a hysterectomy. So with that, that I remember some of that struggle, but I remember great love. And I remember that moment. But I remember especially coming through right before birth. You know, I was up in the corner of the hospital room, and then all of a sudden I see the inside of my mother, and then the doctor's pudgy face. It was
Wow.
like, it was one of those things that as we do that, but I can tell you that the connection that I had with especially my children when I was carrying them, was tremendous, because I was more aware of it at that moment than I was as the soul coming in. And I had, my soul doesn't stay put. It's like, I just noticed, like last night waking up, or this morning waking up, it's like, I'm just as tired as before I went to bed.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I need to start telling myself to stay home when I go to sleep. But my soul has always been one that's been more enlightened. So it's like, it always knew the greater good of where I was to be, what I was to do.
no more late nights at the bar for your soul.
Yeah. We had
They got to go home.
had a case one time where a woman was thinking about having an abortion. She realized that she just couldn't have this child. So in the dream state, this soul came to her and says, I really need to be born, and I picked you for a reason. And he says, and it's okay if you want to just give me up for adoption when you're born. So she decided, well, she had a name all picked out for the baby and everything like this, and she just realized it's not the right time. But she went ahead and had the baby, had a couple adopt it, and she gave it up for adoption. Another couple took the baby, and when she found out what a name was, they chose the same name that she had chosen. That she didn't ever tell them or anything, but it ended up being the name that she chose. And so that was her sign for her that everything was good, Mm-hmm. And other people have had, like souls say, hey, it's okay. I'll find another vehicle to come in.
Yeah. And that's what my story was too, that it was just, but I can tell you why that one did come, because my miscarriages were with my ex-husband, and I know why those didn't happen. But this moment where I knew that this child was going to be with me, and I knew I was going to carry it, that there was a reason why I had to make a decision at that minute in time, and then moved on.
Yeah. That's why I think it should be up to each individual woman to decide. Only she knows, what's best. And it helps if the person's spiritual enough to where the answer or the reason she's doing it, she has more, feels better about the decision because, knowing that it's okay. Mm-hmm. So, I mentioned the case I had before where when I had a person life between life session, her daughter is about to have a baby and they were estranged. And over there, she met the soul of her granddaughter to be, and they introduced themselves. She knew her soul name. And so one of the reasons that the soul was going to be picked her daughter was to help the mother and daughter get back together again, so, and then the other client that I had, the angels, she had two angels with her that were bathing her and massaging her and helping her because of her difficult life she's had. And a little angel came up and was holding her hand and said, hi, I'm so and so. I was the daughter that you miscarried, and how I can't tell you the healing that went on with my client in that session, realizing that this little soul that she miscarried was there, and just says, well, it just didn't happen, but it's okay, and I love you. Wow, I mean, these things are real. I mean, these sessions I have with people, I mean, they're having these real experiences that change their lives. And just like you, Natasha, when you tell somebody and something from the other side, I mean, it could be life changing for them. Just knowing that everything's okay.
Exactly. It's amazing when somebody just, I can see that peace come to them, and it's not the peace. It's just a moment of grace, a moment of that peace that just can come and just say, you're okay. You're okay. It's like, I was so grateful. Like, I had a session this weekend that he ended up just finding, oh, I got to find my own truth. Oh, I get the big picture of what that means. And that moment of him knowing that finding his own truth is going to be the key to the rest of his life, that's just like, thank you, universe, for helping me be in that moment with that person, to have that spirit between us to be able to get that. It's just amazing.
It takes so much to do all this research that we're doing at the Newton Institute. But one of the things I thought would be interesting would be to get some volunteers of mothers that are expecting and in hypnosis to see if they can have a talk with that soul that's going to be their child before it's born, and to try to get some information like, why did you choose me to be your mom? And what am I going to teach you? What are you going to teach me? Hey, you do you have a particular name you want me to call you? I mean, all that should be possible, because there's so much that goes on once you're on the other side. But wouldn't it be interesting to do like 6 cases like that, and then just think when the baby's born and you already had a conversation with them before they were born? That would be amazing. I would think that would tend to make you a better mom.
Sure,
to take a lot of the angst out of the hardness that is, the hardships of it is when you're first being a mother, especially the first time.
So the major question I have to ask you, sir, is, did you say yes or did you say no?
What? Oh, I got all the qualifications they had, and they were like about a mile long. And I met some of them. So what I did is I said, okay, here's my qualifications. Here's what I would like to do and where I think I could be of some help. And because a lot of the people that are, let's say if you're head of research and then you ask for, a lot of volunteers to help you in that research. So I said, I think I'd be good, at least something there helping out, and go from there. I could step up as I need, because some of the qualifications that they had were, one, they wanted you to have a bachelor's degree in something, and I go, well, I went to 2 years of college. I don't have that, but it wasn't a have to be, but they would prefer something like that, So I'm just waiting to hear back from them to see so what I'm doing is just saying, hey, I'm here to help. Here's what I think I could do to help. And would you like some help?
And for those that don't know, Regan had a decision to make about dealing with some hypnosis and a situation, and so we were just kind of wondering what it was.
What you said this week, Natasha, and that really helped me just say, okay, well, maybe this won't work, but something's here, so I've got to see how I can be of help. Even if it's a minor way for now, if I could be some help, can always step up and do more later, So
Natasha was actually helpful.
Pardon?
Natasha was actually helpful.
Yes, she was.
That's unusual.
She had that. No, see, Spirit gave her the proper words to say to me about the reasons I was holding back at all, and it was silly, And I realized, hey, come on. I really know inside that I should be doing more, and that I have the capacity to be of more help, and that I just need to not, let my lazy self get in the way, because I really do want to help. So if anybody listening out there, if you even hear this 6 months or a year later from now, if you're pregnant and you want to have a session, I'd be happy to do maybe a free session for you, just to see if you could contact that little baby that's inside of you right now. and realizing that sometimes that the fetus can be being developed and that soul may not be in your womb yet.
It doesn't stay. It doesn't stay continuously. It's a
it
pop
comes and
in,
goes.
pop out, pop in, pop
Yeah,
out, and
right.
it's a
That's what we're
connection.
finding in the research, Natasha. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's sometimes they walk with you, sometimes they walk around you, sometimes they're off doing their work before they come in,
Yeah.
sometimes they're writing down their contract of what they want to do when they come in. It's never they're never with you 24/7. I mean,
Yeah.
and I can say that. Now, there's some souls that stay with their parent, their mom and dad more often, and others that stay less. But that's that individual interactional work that they do together.
Yeah, and the research, like Michael Newton found with all these people too, that a lot of times there's an energy connection that has to be made also. So they'll come down, kind of connect a little bit, go back, connect. It's like work to be done so that they can, the physics of this whole thing can happen. So the soul, comes in and out, and then sometimes they don't get there permanently until just before birth. But it could be different. I mean, there's always exceptions to everything, but generally, what Natasha says I think is totally true.
Yeah, because the soul does connect with the moment that something happens.
Yeah.
That is part of that connection, that the soul now is connected with that being. That's why I could connect with my spirit that or my soul of my children before I had them, and even the one that I chose not to keep. That there's that connection with that moment that something happens, and then with that cord, with that embryo, then they can go off and come back. But there is a lifeline, I'm going to call it, that can connect with that. And so that's why we know that there's a vitality to something when it first comes to us, because there is that soup, I'm with you now, and then it kind of goes off and does the work. Just like my spirit can and my soul can actually go off quite far. I mean, it's like people say, boy, when I connect with the star people, I've had when I'm doing fairs, people say, oh my God, I didn't realize that you could go out that far, because they see me going out really far. But that was my soul and my spirit going out to check on doing that work. But there's always that vitality, that thread that's attached to this body. And yeah, I have to kind of sometimes pull myself back down in, but at the same time, that's part of that cord. And that's where you know when somebody's getting ready to pass too, because that thread is getting thinner and thinner. So when we're born, it's getting thicker and thicker, more connected. When we're passing, that thread is lessening and lessening.
So, guys, we've been doing this for an hour and 15 minutes. How long do you want to
go? Time goes so fast, doesn't it?
I know it does.
Yeah. Well, that's good. And it's good that we had 4 of us today, because Susan helped so much too. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Sue.
See, people need to hear. That's why reading Michael Newton's books, or reading books about mediums, or reading books about all this stuff, it's all helps, and the more people that share their stories, the more it allows other people to kind of explore a little bit, or get out of their fear, so anyway, I guess we're good till next week, huh?
Well, more or less. Although I got to tell you, I've got some interesting news coming. My new website has been completed, and I'm going to do it tomorrow. Now, one of the aspects of the website is I'm creating a book and services page, to where everybody that is part of the show, you'll be able to find their services or their book and all of that available on the website, so that so you can go. You want to go find Natasha? I know how. You want to get a hold of Regan? I can do that too.
Awesome.
It's magical.
Yay! Congratulations.
Yeah, it's all step at a time. It's great.
And it really is. It really is. And I wanted to talk about intuition because of the gal that I interviewed last week. We'll do that next week.
Okay, that's a big one there too.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
because intuition is part of spirit. Now, my soul is psychic.
Well, and in her case, she's got a gift of song.
Yes.
And so she gets information about lyrics and about music that is downloaded to her, and then she puts it on paper, and then she sings it.
Her
And
muses are extremely enlightened.
very much so. And in fact, I have queued up a song that I just dearly love. We can play it today going out, or we can play it next
I would
time.
love to. I think that Fia has a great actually she chose my child,
right.
or she has my child's name too. So with that I think that would be a blessing right now with what we're talking about, because remember that the only truth there is love. That is the cleanest, most tremendous truth is love, because love can heal pretty much anything.
Yep.
So are we good, guys?
We're good.
We're good.
Awesome, man. So this is Fia, and the song is titled Love is Love.
The way we love is a bit unusual. Some people say it can't be possible to live a life in unity, committed to each other while still remaining free. Just because we're different in the way our energy moves doesn't mean we have to give up our truth. Love is love no matter what color and form. All are equally beautiful. Nothing better than being met in my fullest expression. I'm safe to be myself. There's no need to compromise. When I'm in my power, everything aligns. Just because we're different in the way our energy moves doesn't mean we have to give up our truth. Love is love no matter what color and form. All are equally beautiful. Took some time to figure out who I am, what I want, the shape of my heart. The way we love is a bit unusual. Some people say it can't be possible to live a life in unity, committed to each other while still remaining free. Just because we're different in the way our energy moves doesn't mean we have to give up our truth. Love is love no matter what color and form. All are equally beautiful. Love is love no matter what color and form. All are equally beautiful.